What's good with y'all, YouTube fam? King of Leon here, and I'm going to be giving you guys a very interesting story. Now, if you guys are here for a Yu-Gi-Oh video, then click somewhere else. This is for the YouTube, the core base, my favorite subscribers, my core subscribers, to learn the guy behind the camera. People that want to know the Cali effect, want to know Leon himself. So this video is for them. It also has some graphic content. And so as you guys can see, we're playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I'm going to be saying some things that may offend you. So if you guys are, I don't want to call you sensitive because I guess that would offend you if you're sensitive, but if you guys are a little sensitive to these subjects, then go ahead and watch another one of my awesome Yu-Gi-Oh videos, or if you're just looking for Yu-Gi-Oh videos, go somewhere else. But without further ado, let's get into it. So basically, I want to start off by saying I am black, all right? I know the title is a little misleading. It says that I'm not black, but I am black. And basically, we have to define what black means. And for people that aren't black, like white people or, just the people that want to know about black people, there's different types of black people and what they consider themselves. Now, I do not consider myself African American. I feel like African Americans are from people from Africa that come to America and want to be American. Those are African Americans. We're two completely different people. That is one thing that you guys must understand. The African culture is completely different from the culture that we take in part of. We are no longer Africa. That was stolen from us from the slave trade and being a slave for 300 plus years. That's no longer existent of us. So I find it rather offensive when I am called an African American because, again, I'm not from Africa. I'm an American. Unfortunately, I would rather be a Brazilian or something, but we're not going to talk about that. Another thing is that Africans, in my experience from with a lot of Africans, not all of them, there's some awesome Africans. A couple of Africans that I've dealt with, one of them we wound up being really good friends, and then two of them were on my team. They're fucking funny as hell, but some of the Africans don't like black people, and it's a shame because I feel that while I'm not African, we should understand, Africans should understand the struggle just as much as I understand the struggles of Africa being taken over by the Europeans, and how the Europeans and the French did Africa really dirty, and how Africa's the richest country or the richest continent in the world, but yet so many parts of Africa are, impoverished. But unfortunately, we don't see eye to eye. Some Africans see us as criminals. Other Africans see us as traitors for not coming back to Africa. It's a mess. It's just a mess. But I am not African American. But then again, another thing that really separates us is that as black people, if you are black from, if you like American black, like if you were, part of the slave trade, then you are not what the genetic makeup of an African was. You are mixed with something down the line. More than likely, it's at the very least white, but you are mixed with something. And that's what this story is going to be about, me finding out what I was mixed with. So on my mother's side, I already knew that I was mixed with German from Massa. And I was already mixed with German. What else? Hebrew, Jamaican. I already knew that those were, the things that went into my bloodline. But finding out my father's side was a little harder because I wasn't in contact with my father. The last time I had contact with my father, I cursed him out, and we had a huge disagreement because I wanted to join the military, and unfortunately that deadbeat's name was on my birth certificate, so I couldn't join the military without his consent because I wasn't 18 yet. That's also for a different story to why I did not join the military. I respect my men in service, but it's not for me. What happened was I contacted him again. I wound up getting in contact with him again. I don't even remember how. And actually, no, I didn't get in contact directly with him. I do remember exactly what happened. I said, fuck him. You know what I mean? I want to figure out what I'm from, who I'm from, what I'm with, and I'm going to try to find my grandfather. Now, it took me, I want to say, a year, 2 years to try to find my grandfather. There was actually a point where I gave up, and my wife, she found him, and she wound up giving me his number, and I wound up calling him one day. I was like, yo, what up? Hey, Grandpa. He was like, who this? I was like, your grandson. Turns out that I'm his only grandson. So I think that's pretty cool that I am the heir to the name, even though it's a pretty, common name. But still, I actually like the meaning behind it. And we started talking, we started chatting up. I was like, yeah, I just want to be, in contact with my father's side of my family. I want to know everybody. I want to, get to know you guys. I've always missed him. And my grandfather, from what I can remember, was always my favorite person in my family. Period. Actually, probably my favorite person of all time. Like, him and my wife are like, competing for that top spot right now. My grandfather's fucking awesome for what I can remember. So it was really awesome talking to him. But at that time that I talked to him, it felt like a little bit of distance, because he was like, oh, you should talk to your father, all this other stuff. Here's your father's number. And he was like, he kind of pushed me to talk to my father. Not saying that if I was in his position, I probably would have done the same. But at that given time, I was feeling like, okay, why do you want me to talk to him so bad? So I wound up talking to my father. And my father was like, you're not mine, all this other stuff. Your mom was a hoe, all this other stuff. She slept with so many men. How can I be your father, and all this other stuff? And it didn't necessarily hurt me, because I knew the type of person that he could be. I knew that he could be a malicious person. But at the same time, it started making me question, wait, why is my grandfather pushing me off? Is he even really my grandfather? So I wound up getting a little angry at the situation. And I remember trying to talk to my grandfather before, and he would kind of just like brush me off type thing, like, go talk to your father. And I was like, are y'all niggas in cahoots with each other? Are y'all trying to tell me something? So I wound up talking to my grandfather. I was like, look, I mean, if you don't think that I'm your grandson, all you got to do is tell me. Like, I'll pay for the test or whatever. I want to know myself, because, if I'm not, I don't want to waste my time. So he wound up calling me, and he was like, no, it's not like that. I just want you to talk to your father. I know you're my grandson. He was just, basically, I know that you're my grandson and all this other stuff, but I want you to talk to my father because he needs your help. And I'm like, in the back of my head, obviously, I would never curse on my grandfather, but I'm like, what the fuck do you need? What do you mean he needs my help? This man is like almost 50 years old. Why does he need my help? So he winds up getting in contact with me again and apologizing. He was like, yeah, my fault. I was just, I just was going through some things, whatever. And I was like, you know what? Cool. I've already been through so much with my father. He's already ruined my credit before. He's already did so much shady shit. Him saying that isn't like the end of the world, whatever. So I wound up start talking to him, and my father is a loser. Like, I don't hate the guy. I don't dislike the guy. He's my father, but he's a fucking loser. Like, he doesn't really, like, he has a hobby. I guess that's good. He's really good at fixing stuff like cars and cell phones and stuff. He's pretty good at that, but he doesn't apply himself. Like, if my father actually took the time out to focus himself on fixing cars and phones, he'd be easily a millionaire. But instead, he lives in somebody else's trailer and is a bum. So it really conflicts me, because I'm the exact opposite. I have a drive and I have a want to be somewhere. By the time my kids are in high school, I want to own my own house. Like, I want to not be able to have to put money back into something that's not mine. I want to be able to, where I put my money, to have something to establish. I want my own house. And he just doesn't really have any goals outside of getting the latest phone. And it's pretty frustrating in that essence, because, like, bro, you're my fucking father. Like, fuck me, okay? You haven't done anything for 20 years, 25 years of my entire life. I don't care about that. But you haven't even, like, attempted to do anything for your grandkids. Now, I'm not telling you to go out there and spend money on your grandkids, but these are your grandkids, and you're a grandfather, and you're not, shit. I've had complete strangers give more to my children, or, advice, or talk to them, or try to speak to them to their birthday than you. Like, you're not, on top of that, you're not doing anything with your life. So he is a frustrating ass guy. My problems with my father could probably go into another video, so we're not going to talk about that. So I wound up, I forgot why I wound up going down there. I think it was an event. I think it was a regional or YCS event, and I want to say LA. So me and a couple friends, we wound up going down there and seeing my grandpa, and I haven't seen him for the longest. And I'm telling you, my grandpa is a chill ass dude. When I mean he's chill, this dude is probably 78, 79. He looks 50. He moves around like he's 40. This guy still does everything that like, literally, he can still golf. He can still walk, he can still run, he can still do this. Like, he does everything. And he takes care of my niece, my cousin. He takes care of my cousin because his daughter, which is my aunt, passed away. She killed herself, unfortunately, which I actually get into that. Not necessarily her killing herself, but my family tree on my father's side, because I thought it was really interesting a little later. And my uncle, he wound up passing away this year. And he passed away because, I mean, rest in peace his soul, I really do. I really wish that he didn't die, because he was my cousin, or he was my uncle that would, when my dad just dropped me off and whatever he do, he let me play with his G.I. Joes, and he let me play his games and everything. So he was a really cool uncle. Like, we would spend time with each other, but he died from being too fat. Just simply, he didn't die from like a heart attack. He didn't die from, complications. He legitimately died because he went to sleep, he laid on his back, and he was so big that it stopped his heart from moving. Or either that, or I think he took some medicine or something and it stopped his heart from moving. And it's a pretty touchy experience for me, because again, that is I don't have too much family, and to lose someone, and he was only like 40. He was maybe 40, to lose someone like that, especially when I first got in contact with my grandfather. I'm trying not to like break down or anything, but to lose someone that I just got in contact with my grandfather, and we were supposed to see each other. We've been supposed to see each other for an entire year. And we didn't get to see each other, and he just passed away. It really drives me. Like, I wish that I would have done more to see him. But let's get to some more funny parts, because that was a close moment. I'm trying not to cry. But a funny thing, actually, now that we can talk about it, now that I've talked about those two deaths and cleared those up, is that my great-grandmother, she is still alive. And she lives in Texas. She's 120-something years old, 122 or something like that. And what's even more important is that she still mows lawns. Like, she has the mobility maybe of my grandpa. Like, she still does whatever it takes to get shit done. She still still walks, moves, and does everything. She's in top shape. And on my father's side of my family, not a single person has died from health complications or old age. It has always been, suicide or accidental death or being shot or, just something like that. It has never been, health complications, which I thought was pretty awesome. I look forward to living until I'm 100 and whatever years old and seeing my great grandkids. But my grandmother, I'm going to talk. I have two grandmothers. Actually, I have more grandmothers, but I only have two grandmothers I'm talking about. My biological grandmother, who I'm going to talk about a little later, and my grandmother that is with my grandfather now. She's not biologically my grandmother, but she is the sweetest thing in the world. She is a lot younger than him. I think she's maybe 50 or something. But when you look at them, they look the same. Like, they look the same age. Like, I mean, actually, she might look 30, but she's, like, still, they, like, act the same. She acts like she's fucking old as hell. And you can tell that their love is so genuine, and I love it. And once you get to a certain age, I mean, it really don't matter. I feel like when I get 70 and I leave my lady, when I leave Amber when I'm 70, I'm going to get me a nice little, 40-year-old. And when you guys think about it that way, it sounds disgusting, because I was 30 and she wasn't even born. But I'm 70 and she's 40 and we're both old, so it doesn't even matter. Like, it's like, once you pass a certain threshold, you're just fucking old. It doesn't matter. You all look alike. But my grandmother, she is like the sweetest thing. Unfortunately, she has lupus, and, my heart does go out for her. There's days, if you guys have ever dealt with people that have lupus, you can't, sometimes you can't go out in the sun, sometimes you can't do that. But she is just the sweetest old lady. But back to what this video was for, now that I sidetracked myself out of that heart-wrenching moment. So, the second time I come around, I come down to see my grandpa again. I think it was just on a vacation. And, I wanted to see everybody, but more importantly, I wanted to learn what was my exact heritage. I already knew half of my heritage. I want to know the other half of my heritage. So I'm talking to my grandpa. I'm like, hey, grandpa, what am I mixed with? And he was like, oh boy, you don't even want to know. Now, him and my other grandmother, they have a divide between each other. And he was like, I'm not going to tell you what she is because I want you to go find out yourself. You know, I don't want you to get the information from me and not go see your grandmother. So go get the information from your grandmother. Go talk to your grandmother. Go hang out with your grandmother. You know what I mean? And, you know, he was like, you are a lot of things. And black really isn't one of them. Like, black is, but it isn't. And I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, do you like Asian food? I'm like, no. He was like, you're Japanese. I'm like, what the fuck, Grandpa? Really? You get around. He was like, you were actually supposed to be Japanese and Chamorro, you know, the natives from Guam. He actually had a little thang up in Guam that he was really close with, but they wound up not being, you know, together because of the racial barriers that was existent back in his day when he was in the Air Force. So they wound up not being together, but, you know, she was like, she's near and dear to my heart. And to find out that I would be Asian, and don't get me wrong, I have nothing against Asians. I just don't really like Asian food. There really isn't, like, there's no real food. I haven't had it all, so I can't say I don't like all Asian food, but all of the Asian food that I've had, Chinese, Japanese, I'm not a big fan of. Like, sushi is really, like, I can eat sushi. It's not going to be great, but I'll still be hungry. And it's like, what's the point of eating fucking sushi if I'm just still going to be hungry? I felt that pretty annoying. I don't really like tempura. I don't eat pork, so a good portion of Chinese or Asian food is out of the question when you say you don't eat pork, especially when you're Chamorro. If I was Chamorro and not liking pork, that sounds like almost a fucking sin. It's like saying you're Hawaiian and don't like pork. So it's like, you're fucking sinning at that point in time. But he was like, yeah, you're part Japanese. My grandfather was Japanese. Or my father, which is my great-grandfather, was Japanese. Either Japanese or had some Japanese in him. My great-grandmother, I think she was black and native. I don't know what native she is, but I think she was black and native. I don't really remember all that. But I know I spent maybe an hour or 2 hours talking about that I'm Japanese and realizing that I have Japanese ancestry. Now, it is my great-grandfather that's Japanese, so it's not a huge portion, especially considering how much of a mutt I am. But yeah, I'm Japanese. I'm black in America, part of the slave trade. So there's obviously white in there because of how the whites used to rape the black women and, you know, all that stuff that went down. And that was, you know, part of it. So figuring out that I was all that, I thought that I was done, but he really urged me to go talk to my grandmother. Now, in between that time, my grandmother calls me up and she's like, why haven't you gone seeing your father? You know he means so much to you and all this other stuff. And in the back of my head, of course, I would never say any of this to my grandmother. I'm like, this bum nigga has no car. He lives an hour away on the freeway, driving an hour away on the freeway. Why do I have to spend the time that he wants out to go see him when he can figure out a way to come see me if it was that important? If not, you know, nigga, wait till I come see you. But obviously I don't say that. I let my grandmother chew me out and I'm like, I gotta go see my grandfather. So I leave my kids, I leave my wife at my grandfather's house. He was pretty upset because he's really good at ping pong. I didn't know at that point in time. And I was talking so much shit. I was like, bro, I will destroy you in ping pong. You can get in the diddly, all right? You gonna lose, and ain't nothing you can do. And I'm telling you, my grandfather is probably like me. He is such a sly guy. He was like, all right, now, you want to play? All right. And I didn't even know he was setting up the table to play ping pong, you know, until I had to leave. So I dropped off the kids or whatever. I go see my father. And that was probably the most boring part of my trip because it was an hour to get there. I wound up getting in an accident on the way back. And we didn't talk about anything. It was nothing to talk about. It was nothing from it. Where he's just like, we're opposites. I love sports. He hates sports. I guess the things that we do have in common is that I like cars, but the cars that he likes is different from the cars I like. I like cars that get me from point A to point B. He likes sports cars. I don't have an interest in sports cars, but I do have an interest in fixing cars, and, you know, he's good at that. So, that went down. I came back, And after that, after I didn't get to play ping pong with my grandfather, and by the way, if you guys find yourself in California or if you find yourself in Las Vegas from California, bring me some ice cream from Rite Aid. Bro, bring me some of that butter pecan from Rite Aid. I will love you forever. Okay, not forever, but for a long time, I'll be like, dang, that's my nigga. You brought me butter pecan ice cream from Rite Aid, my nigga. But I wound up seeing my grandma, and my grandma was a very interesting character. So my grandmother isn't black, but she is black. And like I said, like in the video, it's kind of confusing to say you're not black and you're black. My grandmother is Cherokee and Puerto Rican. Her mother is full-blown Puerto Rican, and her father is Native American. Now, when I say she's black, I mean it in the essence that if you're Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Haitian, Cuban, any of those, islands down there, they were a part of the slave trade, and a lot of blacks got mixed into that culture, into that community. So when you see dark Cubans, when you see dark Puerto Ricans, when you see dark this, dark that, them niggas is black, It's really nothing else to say. Like, black isn't necessarily, it's more of a skin tone than it is a cultural thing. Like, you can say you're white and you can have culture from your Germanic, your Italian, your just your European traits. When you say you're black, it's more of, okay, we have dark skin type thing. So that's what black really means. And, there's blacks in Brazil. There's a lot of blacks in Brazil. And that's where a lot of people get confused with, like, they claim they're not black, but yeah, nigga, you black. Like, the dark skin that you have was not native to the place that you lived before the slave trade existed. So you might want to do some checking up like I did. So I kind of found out that my grandmother's full-blown Puerto Rican. I actually do look like my great-grandmother. I look a lot like her. And my grandfather was Native American. My great-grandfather was Native American. He was Cherokee. Now, which was conflicting to me is because my wife, she is Native American and black. She's Cherokee and black as well. And for the longest, I used to make fun of her. And I know it's terrible. I used to pull out all the Native American stops. Obviously, we were together. I wouldn't like do it in public or anything. It'd be just like me and her. And she actually has like our Native American name. Her native name is Bird. And that's why I call her Bird. But I would like, your name is Little Bird. And my name is Big Bear. And my son name is Little Bear. And my other son name is Tiny Bear. And I used to say everything is sacred. I know, I'm fucking terrible. If you're Native American, if you take offense to it, please accept my sincerest apologies. I like fucking with her. I'm sorry. And to find out that I'm Native American too, I was like, damn, I don't think I can do this anymore. Especially, she would get pissed. She would throw stuff at me. I'm surprised she hasn't came in here, started attacking me yet. But she would throw stuff at me and she'd be like, you can't give yourself a name. Like, that's not how it works. You have to go get a name. You have to go do these things. And I'm like, nah, I'm not going to go do them. But I'm Big Bear. I feel it. It's my native animal. And she gets really mad at that. But what happened, or what the thing is, finding out that I'm all these ethnicities definitely changes the structure of who I am. Black people, we don't have a culture. Our culture was taken away from us during the slave trade. But to find out that I have, Japanese, Jamaican, Hebrew, and all these other stuff, it was an interesting journey. And I urge you guys, if you don't know exactly what you are, especially if you're black, find out what you are. Like, and it might be an interesting journey to talk to your grandparents. Hopefully that they're still alive, and all that other stuff. I really wish for you that they are. But talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, talk to your great-grandparents if you're as fortunate as me about your ancestry, and you'll learn quite a few things about you and why, you look a certain way, or you might do certain things, because genetics are heavy within the family. I'm pretty happy that I have some good genes on my father's side, that none of them have died other than, the obvious deaths that I've discussed. And I feel not multicultural, but I feel like I should dive more into these cultures and learn what they're like. And it makes me appreciate humanity even more, because no matter what culture you come from, obviously my family get around. They found a way to mingle with these other cultures. And no matter what culture you get from, we're all one one race. We're the human race. That's the only one that really matters. And that's what really trips me out about racism and, you know, all the stuff that I as a black man go through, is because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, you know, if I'm black, you're white, you're yellow, you're green, it doesn't fucking matter. We're all human. And the only thing I want to be is treated like the rest of everybody else in society, except for the Native Americans. I don't think anybody wants to be treated how the Native Americans were treated, which is very sad. And again, they just want, you know, what's theirs. They want to be treated like civilized human beings. And if we can all get around this fucking skin color thing, because at the end of the day, it's just a fucking skin tone, and, you know, your culture, the world would be so much a better place. I wanted to end that on a good note. I'm really happy about my ancestry and finding it out. I'm also happy I didn't have to pay Ancestry.com for that shit. But thank you guys so much for watching. I want to see you guys' experiences with finding out your ancestry or what ancestry you are. I know there's a lot of mutts down there, so put it up for the mutt gang. Catch you guys next week.